Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel for the latest updates on Crow Road, my Glasgow N-gauge layout. In this video, I get some overhead lines added, add a bit of detail to the station platform and Clarence Drive. I've also made a start on the Crow Road tenement flats at the far end of the layout, and finally I've got an update on the rolling stock for the layout, including some new additions and some weathering. So first up, I've added some overhead line equipment to the layout. These are from OHLE, which look pretty good straight out of the box. But I decided to paint the insulators brown and add a bit of black wash to the poles, as they do look a little bit plasticky straight out of the box. I measured the distance between the real things on Google Maps to get an idea of how far apart they should be on the layout, using Highland Station as an example, and then scaled it down to N-gauge. So that's kind of, I think it came out at about roughly 40 centimeters. To fit them to layout, I drilled some holes, fairly easy. Did a test fit just to see if they looked okay, and then once I was happy, just glued these in place using a little bit of PVA glue. I ordered some road markings from Scale Model Scenery to add a bit of detail to the roads on Clarence Drive, and I'll use the same on Crow Road probably. These are self-adhesive and were relatively easy to stick in place. Although being N-gauge, they are a little bit fiddly to get straight, particularly the double yellow lines, because they are really thin. And while I was ordering these, I noticed they also made some anti-personnel barriers that you see on the sort of ends of platforms and at level crossings. These are the real things near my house on a level crossing to give you an idea of what they look like in real life. And I thought these would look quite good at the end of the platform to prevent the Neds sort of wandering down onto the track. They come as sort of 3D print, I think it is, in grey plastic. So I painted these brown and stuck them in place. But once I was down I didn't like them. I think they were a little bit too high. What I should have done was file away the bottom to get them a little bit lower. So I lift them up, file them down, and yeah, they look okay like that. But annoyingly, I lost the middle one in between lifting them up and filing them. And so I've adapted the design slightly to have a gate in the middle, which you sometimes see at the end of platforms to allow railway personnel access to the track. And just sure I haven't just made that up. Here's an example from Hazelmere Station. You can sort of see the anti-personnel barriers either side, and you've got the gate in the middle. I also decided to expand the layout a little bit using a photo plank that I made a little while ago. So this is just using a bit of old shelving and then gluing onto it some grass and Woodlandscenics scatters. And what I like about this is it provides a bit of more depth to the layout, because it is quite narrow, and a lot of the sort of the views that you get of it, you do see the table that it sits on, or you sort of see the wood along the edge. Just having this, I think, yeah, it improves the depth of the layout and looks a bit better. And yeah, I can just take it away and add it when I want it. At the far end of the layout, you've got Crow Road Bridge, and I've started to work on the tenement flats based on these flats you see on Google Maps. For this, I drew them up in Inkscape, which I've used for all the buildings so far in the layout. And luckily, to get an idea of the dimensions of the various flats and the windows and the interior and basically the whole thing, I luckily found the flat, one of the flats is on for sale on Rightmove, and it's got a nice little floor plan there. So that was excellent. So I could get the dimensions from that, which is great. Um, so that gave me the horizontal dimensions. The vertical dimensions were kind of estimated based on the internal photos. And kind of doing a Google for how big is your average door kind of thing, to get a feel for how high they should be, and then just scale that up. I did a test fit with a paper printout just to check the dimensions and check that it would look okay, and then glued that onto some card and then cut out the windows like I did with the flats at the other end of the layout. This flat, well, the tenements have got a lot of bay windows, and so to make these, I used a method I discovered before while making scale scenes houses. So there is a nice little template there for how you do it. So what you do is you basically cut out a large hole where the bay window is going to go, and then have like a folded bit of card where the bay window goes, and that rests on a tiny bit of card that kind of sort of sits behind the bay window, just kind of provide a bit of support. So this was the test window I did using that technique, just a little bit of card, and I think it looks really good. I'm really pleased with it. I wasn't looking forward to doing these. I thought they'd be a right old faff, but I think this is going to look quite good. The only change I need to do is the bay windows. If you actually look at the real thing, they stretch. It's kind of they're out. Well, they project away from the wall the whole first, second, third floor, apart from the ground level. So I just need to adapt the design slightly. And on the ground floor, I've mapped out the individual rooms because I do plan to add the detailing inside for these and probably light it, I think. And with that Rightmove floor plan, it's excellent because it gives me where the wall should be. I've used thicker card for the floors and the ends and some of the interior walls using the experience from the previous houses, which kind of bent a little bit. These are quite big, so I want the ends to be quite strong. Funnily enough, as I was looking at Rightmove, you get a nice view of where the old Crow Road station would have been. So looking at this view, if you look slightly to the right where the trees are, that's exactly where the station that we're modelling would be. And then moving on to the stock front, around about Christmas time I had two new arrivals, a Grainfarish Class 101 in SPT livery from the Bachman Collectors Club, and this is sound fitted, and a Grainfarish Class 37 load haul with sound fitted by CR Signals. And what I'm trying to do is get into the habit of adding the detailing packs and weathering them as soon as I get them, rather than forgetting about them and putting them in a box and leaving it till for another day. So I'll go through the technique for how I do this, and I came across this a couple of years ago, this technique from World of Railways YouTube site. I'll put the link in the description. It's fairly straightforward, but it does feel a bit brutal when you're doing it for the first time. So what you do is you get some brown wash. So I use Humbrol dark brown wash, I think, and paint this over the whole locomotive. And then almost immediately you then remove that using a bit of kitchen roll, using a sort of downward motion to give the effect of kind of the rain washing the dirt down. But what this does is it gets kind of highlights the details, so you get a lot of grime in the rivets if you got them, and in the edges and stuff, which is what you see in real life. So even if you remove nearly all of it, which you might do for a lightly weathered locomotive, it does look a lot better than just the basic plastic out of the box. And you can scale this depending on how dirty you want it to be. So for these ones, I kind of gone for a slightly lighter wash. Um, the only slight difference from the World of Railways uh, technique, I guess, that I've done is that they use a sort of dark grey to pick out the details of the chassis. Whereas what I've found just from taking trains and looking at stuff is that they tend to be more of a sort of dark brown, kind of that real sleeper grime that everybody uses for their track weathering and sleepers. And yeah, funny enough, that's the same colour that a lot of the chassis tend to end up. So what I've done is just, instead of using the dark grey, kind of used a dry brush of real sleeper grime. With both those weathered and detailed, I decided to weather the other stock that I had using the same technique, because I thought, well, I'm on a roll here. The only set that I did weather slightly differently was the Class 156s in the Saltire livery. When I looked at old photos of these, they are absolutely spotless on the top. The chassis is still brown, but the rest of it is absolutely spotless. So all I've done for these, I haven't even bothered weathering the top bit. It's just kind of weather the chassis. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Sorry, I'm a bit nasally at the moment, kind of still recovering from a cold. Hope that hasn't impacted on your enjoyment of this video too much. Yeah, and let me know what you think in the comments section below. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.